NAAMSA saying grey imports of second-hand cars into the country are hurting the industry. The Association of Automobile Manufacturers says new car sales for September are 24% down compared with the same period last year. Now, grey imports are used vehicles intended for shipping to neighbouring states that permit the sale. And joining me now to discuss how dire this problem is Michael Mabasa, who's the CEO at NAAMSA. Michael, many thanks for your time this evening. How big is the problem and why don't we have better oversight?
Well, grey imports are definitely a very big challenge for us in South Africa, because currently on our roads we've got more than 12.7 million vehicles that are registered on our roads today. 300,000 of that is actually grey imports, and these are illegally imported vehicles into our country. And what we have seen is a growth of about 30,000 of these grey imports coming into our market each year, which is obviously a very big challenge, not only for us as the industry, but certainly for government as well, because government is losing almost close to 3.8 billion in revenue and taxes that they could be collecting had we obviously sold these vehicles into the market legally. So it is a very, very big problem, and these vehicles are obviously coming through either the Durban port and maybe other areas of ports of entry that we have in our borders in the country.
But why do we have a lack of oversight at these borders? We know it's a problem. You've just said it's been happening for a while. Why do we have that lack of oversight?
I think the challenge we have is that law enforcement has really not zoomed in onto this particular problem specifically. And the other reason is also because of the fact that many of these vehicles, as they come into the country, many of them are destined either for countries, for an example. Remember that South Africa is sharing borders with landlocked countries such as Lesotho and Eswatini, who are, unfortunately, when they want cars, they obviously have to get those vehicles through South Africa. And those vehicles, as they come into South Africa, when they get into our borders, the indication is that they are destined for Lesotho or they're destined for Eswatini. And the documentation is presented as if it is in order, but certainly only to find that most of that documentation is unfortunately fictitious. And instead of those vehicles going to the areas where they were originally destined to, they obviously end up in South African roads. And that's very, very unfortunate, because they also have a huge impact in relation to road safety, because many of these cars are actually second-hand and very old vehicles.
Right, so there's some deep-rooted corruption in this particular instance, wouldn't you say then?
Absolutely, and we believe very strongly that most of these activities are actually coordinated through very organized gangs. So this is not unsuspected customers who are bringing these vehicles into South African market, but certainly these are organized gangs, and they know exactly what they're doing. They have obviously a system that they're running in order for them to be able to get through these vehicles onto the system. We have met with the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition this week, and he has obviously assured us that there will be a team that is going to be set up, which is going to comprise not only from the DTIC, but certainly from the police and also from the South African Revenue Service, so that we can really be able to nip this one in the bud, because it's definitely hitting our economy quite significantly.
When do you think the Minister will initiate this investigation that you've mentioned? There's lots of talk about investigations and looking into illicit activities in the country in various sectors, but these things usually take very long to be established. Has the Minister given you a firm idea of when this is going to happen?
Well, we are very pleased that the Minister was very keen to have this task team set up very, very quickly. In fact, as we speak, there is a work stream that is going to be meeting on the 15th of October to be able to start looking at some of the challenges that we have identified and some of these issues that we've raised with the Minister. So we are very, very pleased that at least there is some traction, and the Minister has really given this some level of agency, which is very, very pleasing indeed from his side. And we're really going to be working very tirelessly with government officials so that we can really be able to find lasting solutions. And we also want to coordinate some of these efforts that we are coordinating, not only as South Africa, but certainly with our trading partners across the borders that are in SADC, so that we can, because this is a joint challenge for all of us, and we really want to be able to manage it the best way we can.
Finally, Michael, you mentioned that the economy is losing just over, or the country loses over 3 billion annually because of this illicit trading of second-hand cars. Give us a ballpark figure, if you can, about the amount that we are also losing in jobs that could be created from the production of these vehicles locally and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the automotive industry is obviously employing, a lot of people within the manufacturing base of the industry. Currently, we have in our payroll more than 30,000 employees who are working in the manufacturing base. Because remember, South Africa is hosting about 7 manufacturing plants in our country. And all these 7 companies are actually employing around 30,000 employees full-time on a daily basis. And we obviously have a very big challenge, because with 30,000 vehicles obviously coming into the country annually, this is obviously a very big loss, because we could have been employing a lot of people who could be working in these manufacturing plants, and not only in the plants that manufacture vehicles, but certainly in the entire value chain. Because remember, the automotive industry has a massive value chain. And if you look at the whole value chain across, we're talking currently a workforce of more than 1 million people who are working within the automotive sector. So we believe very strongly that if this issue is addressed, we will certainly be able to have some very meaningful gains, not only in terms of saving the fiscus, but certainly also creating some meaningful jobs for a lot of people who are currently out of work.
We leave it right there with Michael Mabasa, who's the CEO at NAAMSA.